Hi folks, welcome to the show. My name is Toba. Today on Artwork, we are going to be chatting about how to create quality content without breaking the bank, and also how creatives can balance a 9 to 5 while pursuing their creative endeavors. To help us with that is Joseph Nti, the creator and producer of Off the Top Ghana, an online trivia show with an ensemble cast hosted on YouTube, and the Sincerely Accra podcast, a vox pop driven podcast set in Accra. In this episode, you learn how collaboration can save you a ton of money when producing content and practical steps to keep you balanced as you manage formal employment and a creative practice. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome Joseph.
Hi guys.
The earliest shows that you did, Off the Top and Sincerely Accra, I mean, you were a new creator, you didn't have any money. How did you produce the shows?
One thing is using the people around you and the people that you know. You don't always have to pay for services right off the bat. So I think I went on Google and I said, okay, I'm doing a YouTube show. I'm starting this. What do I need? And I made a list for myself. And so I went and I spoke to the camera guy. Said, this is what I want to do. This is what I want it to look like. Are you interested? And he said, yes, he was. So I said, okay, now this is what I want the show to look like. What are the equipments that we need to make it happen? You know, he made the list. And I said, so what do you have? He says, oh, I have a camera. I said, okay, where can we get the others? He says, you know what? I'll have to ask people. I needed a venue. I had a friend that I had been speaking to because we wanted to start a YouTube channel and a YouTube show together. And we had recorded the first episode and we didn't like it, so we didn't do it again. So when I came up with the show idea, I said, you know what, your house is really nice. You have a lot of living space and there are your people are never at home. And he said, yeah, you can film here. So that became my location. So I didn't have to pay for a location. The next thing I had to do was find cast members. So I think I spoke to like 3 of my friends, and everybody else were people that I didn't know, or they were not my friends. So people I had met once or I'd seen on the timeline. I felt they were interesting. And I just messaged them and they were interested in doing it. And I made them understand that it wasn't paid. What I did was I provided breakfast and lunch and a lot of drinks. So they don't get hungry. They don't need anything. Whilst they're on set, they are well fed. You know, the ambience is great. And then the next thing was I needed an editor because I didn't know how to edit. And the camera guy that I was working with was an editor. So I said, can you edit for me? He said, oh yeah, sure. I really like the show. Yeah, I'll edit. He said he wasn't going to charge me. But the problem that I was having with him, he was not meeting the deadlines. And that happened one too many times. So there was one time I went to visit him and he told me he was going to be done with an episode, and he was not. So he was editing it in my presence. And I was just watching the screen. And then he got a phone call and he got up. And I just started to mimic him and do what I thought I saw him do.
Wow.
And he was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm editing. So then he came to me and then he started showing me. And that was how I learned how to edit. So whilst the first season was airing, I was learning to edit. By season 2, I was editing the videos. With Sincerely Accra, yeah, there's not much money involved. When I started, I had to do vox pops that involved me going out to town. All I had to think about was money for transportation. And maybe like when I go to the place, you know, buying a few drinks or 2. I remember one time somebody DM'd me and said, oh, I'm starting a podcast. I want to know what equipments to get. I said, oh, I don't know what I'm going to tell you because I don't use any, they were like, what software? But I said, I use my phone. I sit in my wardrobe and I record onto my phone and I send the audio to my producer.
How do you manage to split your time between your 9 to 5 and your creative work?
I know from Monday to Friday, between 8 and 5 p.m., I'm going to be in the office. And I do not mix things. I don't go and sit in the office and edit Off the Top or do work for the podcast. In the same vein, I do not bring office work home. But once I walk out of the office, nothing from the office comes home with me. I think a lot of the questions is like, don't you get tired? Don't you like miss something? Because, you know, you're doing the YouTube and then you're doing the podcast. And I'm the same one that's posting on all these social media platforms. What if you mix up the account? What if you plan it, you're great. Like, for example, with the YouTube, I post like, let's say 8 episodes and I schedule them. So I'm not sitting behind the computer every single week doing go live. No, it's all scheduled there. When I'm creating shows, I'm very strategic about how I'm going to release, when I'm going to release, the frequency, because I feel like you need to dictate for the audience what it is that you can do for them. It comes out once a week. 8 p.m. or it comes out every 2 weeks, that's the case of the podcast, people know when to expect it, and it takes pressure off of you because you have dictated for them when it will come out.
Hi, we'll get back to our guest in a quick second, but I wanted to tell you a bit about how you can grow your creative practice with Paystack. Are you tired of waiting forever for customers to pay that invoice? Using Paystack, you can create simple, beautiful invoices that allow customers to pay you more quickly online. Get paid fast through card payments, bank transfer, mobile money, and many other payment methods. Create your free account and learn more at paystack.com/AWW. And now, back to the show. So imagine there's someone who is trying to decide between balancing a 9 to 5 with creative work versus going all in on their passion from the jump. How would you advise that they think about it?
I think that, anything is possible once you set your mind to it. I started out this thing having the model where I work and then I do the thing on the side. And I actually quit my job and I said, let me actually do the thing that I love for a year and see how it goes. There was a lot of challenges with getting people to pay you what you're worth. There's a lot of challenges with getting people to pay you for work that you've done. And I looked at everything and I admitted to myself that I don't have the patience to withstand this kind of life.
Right.
Always chasing money, always fighting with somebody. I don't want that. I want the easy life now. So I went back and found a job, and that's how come I'm doing it this way. Now, at the same time, I know people who stuck to it. They have no other source of income and they're doing very well. So it is really about what you want to do. There will be times when you will pitch and nobody will be interested in you. What's your next step? How are you going to change things around to make sure that at least you have something that's coming at the end of the day? That's what they need to think about.
Imagine a creator who is just starting out is sitting in front of you right now. What is the one advice that you want them to live with?
Planning is everything. Planning is everything. You can't play things by ear. You can't be arbitrary with it. Planning is everything. If you're doing stuff on a budget and you are also, balancing a 9 to 5, you need to plan. Because the thing is that you don't want to fail at the two things. You don't want to show up at work too tired to commit and then your boss sees it and then maybe the promotion that you need, you don't get it. Salary increase, you don't get it, or you are fired. You don't want that. At the same time, you don't want to be putting half of your energy into it. And then when the content comes out, people can tell that it's not where it's supposed to be. So you need to plan.
Yeah.
What do you need to be able to produce your stuff at the optimal level? There are people that put out content once a month. If that's what's going to be helpful for you, do that. If you put out an episode in a month, do little snippets of different parts of the conversation that you can put out for the rest of the month. That will still spark interest and get new people to watch it. Or even get the ones who already watched it, start a different conversation. So know what works for you and plan accordingly. Me, I knew I was juggling off the top in the podcast. So when we came to that conversation of how often we should put out a podcast, we both agreed we have a 9 to 5. He also produces for another podcast and I also do off the top. So we said we are doing it every 2 weeks. Yeah. So we put out a podcast every 2 weeks. It gives us 1 week to relax and rest. So you need to know what works for you and plan.
All right. So where can people find you if they want to reach out to you?
Personally, you can find me on Instagram at Jumanjo. On Twitter, you can find me at Joseph_Nti. That's my surname, Nti. The podcast is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and for Off the Top on YouTube, just look for Joseph Nti or search Off the Top GH. And the episodes will come up.
Well, thank you very much, Joseph. That was a lot of fun. I've learned a lot about how to run a creative business while on a budget and also balancing the 9 to 5 and my creative career. So thank you for your time.
It was absolutely lovely too.
Awesome stuff. All right, folks, thank you very much. That's all we have for you today. Until I come your way next time, take care and bye-bye.